Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This is your daily NBA betting podcast, and we're going to go over the best bets for Wednesday, February 3rd in the association. Nope, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Tuesday, February 3rd in the association. I don't know what day it is because I got back at 2 a.m. last night from Nuggets Thunder, but we're going to get you best bets for those games, and we'll do King of the Court tonight. To do so, I've got with me Kyle Murray. He's at KMurDFS over at Roto Grinders. Man does all sorts of sports, including golf. Kyle gets really, really in the weeds with the golf projections and is absolutely dynamite. He had some big winners last season, so you're going to want to check him out at KMurDFS. Also joining me, Maestro of the Market, the commander of CLV, I'm going to call you the Claude of CLV. You can also become an alive AI agent and join the bots over there, Fiddle, if you want to. Michael Fiddle at Fiddle's Picks. He does a daily rundown of all the NBA games on his own Twitter channel. He breaks it down every single day. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's the best way. If you want to learn the market for NBA, there's nobody better to listen to than Fiddle. He's so good at breaking down where the market is, where it's moving, how it's going to go, all those types of things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Everything we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks, to get up-to-the-second information where the bets and money are coming in. If you sign up, you get things like Sean Kerner puts out a Super Bowl prop, and if you wait and you don't sign up for Action Pro, then you get it, and you're like, wait, why is this number radically different from the one that was listed? But if you go to actionnetwork.com/pro, you can get $60 for annual access right now. You can get in on the big game, get all the props that you need. All of our analysts, Chris Raybon put stuff up today that is absolutely dynamite. 2 rushing props that are really interesting to look at that I'm definitely going to bet. So make sure you go to actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up. Okay, we're going to talk about the best bets. However, as we were jumping on, I shared that there was an individual who has had connections with the league before who shared a very vague tweet that suggested a Darius Garland for James Harden trade. And that doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. And yet Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated, who's been covering the league and particularly Boston side stuff for a long time, as long as I've been in the industry, reports the Cleveland Cavaliers and Los Angeles Clippers have had advanced discussions on a deal that would send James Harden to Cleveland in exchange for Darius Garland. Okay. I will say I heard that the Cavaliers have been looking around at what Garland's value is. I've heard that they have called a number of people. It makes a lot of sense to me where I just don't know that you can, like, Darius doesn't check any of the boxes. Is he healthy? Well, no. But have they been good with him this season? Well, no. But is he better in the playoffs? No. Is he a small guard that usually gets picked on defensively? Yeah. So it's like he doesn't check any of the boxes. Now I know that Harden helps with a lot of that, but Harden's at least more available. Harden is still a tank even at his age. So that kind of makes a little bit of sense. I still think it's there's potential for them to go to Houston and be like, hey, Darius Garland, to help them with a Giannis trade, because that makes the most sense to me. I do think the Cavaliers have at least registered their interest along with 3/4 of the league in Giannis Antetokounmpo. There is no scenario. I would be surprised if this was a one-off, if it was like the Cavs traded Darius Garland and then we're done. This seems to me like this sets up for another move. It doesn't mean that that's automatically true. They could just be like, yeah, we just want somebody more consistent. We're moving off Darius' money and that's it. But it is like, it's a really interesting and weird idea, Fiddle.
Yeah, I like it from a basketball sense for both teams, in the sense that, like, Cleveland is going for a championship this year in a weaker East, and James Harden definitely makes them better. I also think James Harden could help with the development of Evan Mobley, which might have stalled a little bit this year. So we need an uptick in that again. And Harden really helps get his teammates in the right spots and finds them really well. It's like super high basketball IQ. I've always been a huge Harden stan. I'm one that advocates Harden better basketball player than Dwayne Wade, career long trajectory, and Garland makes sense long term for the Clippers. He doesn't really help the Cavaliers this year, definitely less than James Harden would. So I do understand it. I just think it might be going all in a little too soon for Cleveland. I mean, they just still have such a long run in front of them if they keep Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and however that core ends up shaking out. So to push the chips for James Harden this year, seemingly what, a 1 year, 2 year run, hoping then you re-sign Donovan Mitchell or that doesn't implode. So it's definitely risky, but basketball wise, I do like it for both teams in a sense. So I think it makes some sense. You're muted.
Cash the minus 1,000. It does work money wise straight up here. It saves the Cavs $263,000. Sorry, $263,397. I'm sure that $97 is very important. So if you're wondering why I'm going into the money side of this, the Cavaliers are trying to get under the second apron. Regardless of what else they do, they're trying to get under the second apron. They can't aggregate players in any other trade if they want to make another upgrade unless they do that. This is not going to get them, I don't think, all the way home if they salary dump Lonzo Ball, because that's the next move, is either to waive him or to agree to a buyout with him or to move him to the Nets, and then the Nets pay him out and dump him. Because they've talked to them and they've talked to Utah, are the two teams that according to people I've talked to, that have had conversations about a Lonzo Ball deal with the Cavs sending draft capital to offload that money. What's interesting is, okay, this does save them some of the money, and then Lonzo gets them further of the way. So they're like moving within range of that second apron deal. And this might be as simple as they don't want to be in the second apron, and that's fine. But again, I go back to like the biggest reason to get under the second apron now, unless your owner is just cheap, which, you know, Gilbert's kind of hit or miss on that. Sometimes he hits, sometimes he misses on the cheap thing. The biggest reason is kind of make another move. Kyle, what would be your reaction to this were to go through with James Harden joining the Cavaliers and the Clippers getting Darius Garland?
Yeah, I mean, I think from like a player prop perspective, it would certainly shake some things up. Obviously, we've seen Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley handling a lot of usage. Obviously, Mobley's been out recently, but I think that would certainly change up some things there. I think it is interesting to look back and see the injury report the last 2 days. James Harden missed the last 2 games, so maybe that is potentially correlated. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a coincidence. But I think usually when there's smoke, there's fire, and when you've got a couple of different sources, and then obviously Harden being out the last couple of games, it certainly seems like there's something that is really real here and substantial. And I think obviously when you move a guy like James Harden, who is not only usage wise but just overall touch wise, I think it's going to certainly shake up some things from a Cleveland perspective, and I think that'll inherently add some value in the prop markets. More likely, I would guess on Donovan Mitchell unders and whatnot, and maybe even some James Harden unders to start, but that's kind of the thing that I first went to when hearing this news. But other than that, it would certainly be one of the bigger trades we've seen since the Luka trade, at which I believe was on February 1st, February 2nd last year. So apparently there's something about this week where there's some big names potentially being moved. So it's exciting to know.
I literally started a column tonight about why this is probably going to be a quiet deadline. I'm like 500 of the way through it, because it is so hard to kind of move the money, and that's why this deal is so interesting, because it's like the Cavs went out and found somebody that they could move one of their big 4 contracts for straight up without having, because they can't include other salaries. So it's a really fascinating type of deal. It is also weird because it's like the Clippers are killing everybody right now. They're getting their asses beat by the Sixers right now, and I hope that holds because I bet Sixers, but it was my best bets on action today. But I mean,
Harden's just such a big piece of that too. Like, he's been amazing this season, all things considered. Wasn't Harden coached by Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn too? So Atkinson has some
for like a brief period of time.
Yeah, Atkinson.
No, I think he was already gone. No, because it was Kyrie and KD, and they pushed Atkinson out and hired Steve Nash, and then Nash was in charge when they got Harden, I think.
Okay. Yeah, good to clear it up.
I think. I'm looking at because I will not let go of this idea. Now I'm like, Wait, could you trade Harden to the Could you turn around and send Harden to the Rockets and then get Şengün to the Bucks and that gets Giannis to Cleveland? Because that to me is like that's how to do that.
That would not be a quiet deadline, that's for sure.
Not after what Şengün did tonight. I'll tell you that.
Send Harden home to the Rockets. He plays with KD again for the third time. What could go wrong?
Guys, we just got a Shams update. The Los Angeles Clippers and 11 times All-Star James Harden are working to find a deal by Thursday's NBA trade deadline. Both sides are aligned in conversations together with interested teams. So Harden is
literally just got their team to be good again.
What's an NBA season without a Harden trade season? Let's be honest.
I love it. It's so great. Oh man. This is so great. And here's the thing, if they pull this off, if they pull off the deal for Garland, for the Clippers, this is massive because Harden's going to decline and Garland at least does have upside. Like if he gets past these foot injuries, which is a big question mark, if he gets past these foot injuries, that's an all-star level talent that you've just added with a longer runway. And you can be like, cool, we have a young piece. And now we can whenever Kawhi decides that whatever he's going to do, that dramatically changes what they're capable. This is this saves them to a certain degree. Man, really fascinating. We'll keep you updated. We'll keep Twitter open tonight as we do the show. And if you're listening on the podcast, we are reacting live to this as we do every night, youtube.com/ the Action Network. We catch every night. By the way, we're going to be starting after All-Star, new Friday shows. We're going to be adding those as well. All right, let's do some best bets here for the Tuesday slate. And we'll hit King of the Court as well. Let's start with Kyle Murray. Kyle, what's your 3-star bet of the night?
Yeah, I'm gonna have some. If any of my friends or family are watching, I'm gonna get tomatoes thrown at me. But I'm taking a Cade Cunningham under for our Michigan hometown hero. But under 35.5 points and assists. I think this number is just a bit inflated. Obviously, Cade Cunningham is never a fun player to fade. Anytime you are looking to bet an under on any of these big time all stars or superstars in the NBA, it's certainly a scary proposition. But 35.5 points and assists is a big number, especially when you consider that on plays where he's getting assists, he cannot obviously put the ball in the basket. So it's a spot where I think, the under does project well for me. And a 35-minute projection against Denver, I have him for about 33.3 points and assists. Nice, clean number there. And when you actually look at the matchup specifically against point guards, this defense has been pretty good. The Denver defense has been against ball handling guards so far in the points and assists, combo prop, the third fewest points and assists to opposing point guards so far this season. I think a lot of that happens to be correlated with their free throw attempts, not allowing a lot of free throw attempts to opposing guards. So far this season, they are a top 10 team at avoiding sending guards to the free throw line. So all that sort of adds up in terms of why this number is projecting as an under here for Cade Cunningham. I think in terms of the risk here, I think there is a world where maybe we see him play 36, 37, 38 minutes in a game that's close down to the wire, 4.5 point spread. But the Pistons have also been, a little bit cautious with some of these guys' minutes. We've seen a lot of these, obviously, key secondary players return from injury. Jaden Ivey's back, Ron Holland's back. So we've seen some guys, return to the rotation. That's sort of limiting the, upper echelon of minute ceilings for some of these guys. So I think that also hurts the projection here for Cade Cunningham. So bottom line, it's going to be an under for me on Cade Cunningham, basically backing the model, but I do think there's some underlying stats here that point in that direction as well.
So I like this. I have a basketball-centric kind of take on this, which is the Nuggets are going to blitz Cade because they can't live with him in mid-range pull-ups. He'll absolutely annihilate them if they do that, and they blitz him a lot in the matchup in Denver the other week. And what happens there is then he passes to Duren on the short roll, or Stewart, or they use a guard like Asar Thompson, and then they kick to the corners. So Cade picks up a lot of secondary assists, but not the primary ones. And that helps to keep maybe those assist numbers down. I do project this as an over spot. Denver's defense is atrocious. Their zone in particular is particularly vulnerable to giving up corner threes, which is, if you're doing a zone, you should probably guard the corner three. But nonetheless, I'm actually going to have a play related to that kind of a cap here in a little bit, but I do not mind the Cade under 35.5 PA because the Nuggets will throw a lot to try and slow down Cade as a scorer. That one of their primary principles is just get the ball out of the hands of whoever is the best ball handler and let the other guys try and do damage. And they will, but I don't know if they'll get to this number. Also, Nuggets are a very slow-paced team as well. So, like this play for Kyle.
Also, one more thing, backing what you said in that specific matchup against Denver a few nights ago. Over the last 20 games for Cade Cunningham, that game was the lowest usage rate game he's had over that stretch of period. So that all lines up as well.
Makes sense. Okay. Michael Fiddle, your 3-star bet of the night.
I'm going with the Knicks and Wizards over 227.5 is the best number in the market. I think this is a clear over spot. Make this game closer to 230. There's been a kind of depressed totals market over the last few weeks, and I'm going to take some time to dig into foul rates and one rates, because it seems like maybe some less whistles are being called just subjectively watching these games. But I find that the games with longer spreads right now are better to back the overs and still consistently cashing towards the overs if the market agrees. So we are going to see a market move on the over here. We're already seeing it up from 225.5 to 227.5. So this is going to be an over spot for me. Wizards are a fast-paced team. They're top 10 in the NBA in pace. They've been top 7 in pace literally all season. And the Knicks have a very efficient offense, so not the greatest defense right now. I think Mitchell Robinson is already announced out for this game, so should be less rim protection, and so this feels like it's going to be a game where both teams go a little smaller with bigs that space the floor between Cat and Sar. I expect some flying of the ball around, a lot of threes volume, and a lot of scoring. So over 227.5 is my favorite play on tomorrow's card.
Okay. I want to put this one in the laboratory for a minute. Okay, Fiddle?
Yep.
So one of the things that's been apparent, Brian Faseka tweeted this the other day, it's been 2 weeks since the Knicks have allowed a scoring performance by the opponent over 105 points. This is the last 6 differentials of the opponent versus their team total versus the Knicks. So opponent's team total versus the number. -11, -11.5, -19, -18.5, -4, -37.5 for the Nets. Then a 4.5, and then a 5.5. The key here, I think the Knicks are going to put up a huge number. I do worry about the Wizards getting up a big enough one, because when the Wizards are bad, like that Lakers game, right, where it's like the Lakers trounced them and the Wizards still didn't put up very many points versus an absolutely atrocious defense. Like I kind of like want to push towards maybe a Knicks team total over, because it guards against the possibility. Like you're basically trying to catch not just a knife, you're trying to catch a red hot inferno melted steel poison tip knife falling right now with this Knicks defense, which is not to say that I don't think that this will fall apart. Like they have a 98 defensive rating over the last 2 weeks with Jalen Brunson. That's not going to hold. And you can win if you're right, or if the regression hits in this game, but just like as a way to kind of avoid the risk of the Knicks defense continuing this run that they're on, Knicks team total over might be a good way to go about that. I project them on their own at 123. I'm with you on the over. I projected over. Market agrees with you over. You're getting the CLV. I know that's what you care about, but also Knicks team total for the bettors might be at least something to at least consider.
Yeah, so I actually completely agree on that. The reason why I don't play as many team totals as just game market totals is because I bet early into the markets. I'm generally working at when the market opens and getting the first crack at line moves. So team totals are not out yet. I don't know if team totals are out yet for the Knicks and Wizards game right now. So what we might see is that line climb to 228.5, 229, and then team total markets open. And it's like, yeah, I'm totally fine with Knicks, but you also might be leaving value on the table, not playing it early, because then the derivative markets that open are going to be influenced by the way the spreads have been shaded a little bit, the way the totals have been moving in the market a little bit. So I completely agree. But I think this is a spot still worth, play it both ways. Play the game total over now, come back in on Knicks team total early when that market opens. But we are seeing a little bit of Wizard sentiment in market too, with like 14.5 drying up to 13.5. So I would wonder, maybe you do get a fine Knicks team total, because if the spread moves a point and the total moves a point and that point comes from the Wizards, they're just going to tack it on to the Wizards team total if you just kind of simpleton math it out in that sense. So
yeah,
I like both of it. I don't disagree at all.
Well, and you can also make this scenario argument, which is like, do you feel confident the Knicks are going to score? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Are they going to put up a big number? Probably. Okay, can this go over if they just do that? Yes. What's the alternative? What if the Knicks don't put up a big number? Well, it's probably because the game is competitive. And what does that mean? Well, that means the Wizards are scoring more. And what does that mean? You're probably going over. Right?
Well,
like,
let's hope. Yeah.
There's not really a scenario. I don't have a script scenario where it's like the Wizards played incredible defense and held the Knicks to 110. That doesn't feel likely.
I completely agree on that. And I would think it just has to be a shooting regression or like low foul rate type of thing that would influence that. But I mean, I think this number should be 229. So at 226 and a half, for me, it's a no brainer. 227 and a half, widely available in market. Absolutely still a go for me.
Okay. All right. My 3-star bet of the night, going back to a good old familiar one, Lakers Nets over 222 and a half. I played a lot of Lakers overs on the show, and we were dynamite early. And here is the essential thing. It's 2 words, and it's Austin Rivers. This is my 3-star bet. I feel confident in this bet, but it is under a parameter, which is we have to get Austin Rivers to play in this game.
Austin Reeves, yeah.
But Austin Rivers has been calling games recently, so you've probably heard Austin Rivers on the call, and he's been fantastic.
The problem is I covered Austin for like 3 years with the Nuggets, and so like I got to like know Austin, and like I like Austin a lot. Yeah, my bad. Austin Reeves. It was definitely not Austin Rivers. Austin Reeves is the big key in this one. Reeves is listed as questionable. He was upgraded to, I think, questionable on Friday, and then
2 games ago, yeah,
and then listed out last minute, which can be concerning because it can be like he tweaked something in a warm up and now it had a setback. Then was out the next game when they thought he was going to play on Sunday or Saturday night, and then the next game on it was Sunday, right? It was Knicks Lakers on Sunday.
It was Sunday. I can
Sunday.
tell a quick story about that when you're done.
And then now on Tuesday, he's listed as questionable again. I just think that there's a very good likelihood that he's going to play in this Nets game. If he does not, you can go ahead and pass on this. So if you check the injury reports tomorrow and Austin is questionable, you can go ahead and step on by this. If you get to tip off and it's like, oh, Austin Reeves is going to play tonight, go ahead and play Lakers Nets over. Even if this number has gone up, there's not going to be a number I'm not going to like it at because of where I've got this projected. To back this up, here is the differential that you have to look at. Lakers overs. I got 2 trends here. Lakers overs are 12-9, which is pretty good against average under teams. The Nets are an average under team. This is the bigger one. The over in Lakers games with Austin Reeves this season is 16-8. They have gone over 16 of 24 with Austin Reeves this season. So, provided that Austin Reeves plays, I'm going to go ahead and bet it now because I feel I bet enough that I can take a risk on the number. I'm going to bet because I do think he plays. Lakers Nets over 222 and a half. It's going to be the best bet for me for the 3-star play of the night. What's your story on this, Fiddle?
So I do think Austin Rivers definitely plays. There's someone who I talk a lot of betting with in this space, and that person is a really big Knicks fan with season tickets and goes to the games early and is like watching warm-ups all the time and sends me notes. And I got hey, Austin Rivers really looks like he's going to play. Like he's really warming up pretty hard. I think Reeves is going to play in this game. And so I got some, what I thought might've been insider information, that Reeves was going to go for this game. And I'm literally about to action it and bet into the market. And then I see the notification, Reeves is out, and it turned that person from 105 and 105 in correct injury reporting early at Knicks games to 105 and 106. So it's still a great resource to have. But if you're getting that kind of notes from shoot around the day before and there's no travel in this spot and we haven't heard, I just checked McMenamin's Twitter. There's no word of any setback or anything. I definitely think this is a game where Reeves comes back. So I like this a lot on the handicap that Reeves does come back, and you're buying into a questionable market that is likely to be upgraded.
James Harden, by the way, is now trading at 74 cents to be traded before the deadline. So that's fun. Yeah, that one coming out in left field. Okay. Let's go to our 2 and our 1 stars. Let's head on over back to Kyle Murray and get his 2 and 1 star plays of the night.
Yeah, I did not mean to do this. I think it's also, some games don't have full player prop lines and whatnot. And but all three of my plays ended up in this Denver and Detroit game. So my 2-star play is Tobias Harris over 18.5 PRA. I do think it is, somewhat correlated, obviously, to being in on the under on Cade Cunningham. I do think that, a lot of, projected usage could be funneled away from him with the way that Denver plays these ball handling guards. So naturally, I think we could see an uptick in scoring for Tobias Harris. I wouldn't mind if people wanted to take less of a stand on both of these plays, because there's some correlation. So if you wanted to be a little bit more cautious of the risk there on both of these options, that's at least worth noting. But in a 29-minute projection, I have Tobias Harris for 14.4 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.5 assists, so about a 21.9 PRA projection here in the matchup against Denver. And Matt did mention they are a slow-paced team, but they have been struggling defensively, and specifically against some of these wing players who can kind of rely more so on the catch and shoot. So I think that'll benefit Tobias Harris quite a bit in this spot. So I like him as over on his PRA as my 2-star play, and then my 1-star play over 12.5 points and rebounds for Jonas Valanciunas. Obviously, Jokic returned a couple games ago. He's looked pretty good, and I don't think the minutes limit has been as strict as some of us have been expecting. But regardless, it does seem to profile as we're going to see Joe Val in the non-Jokic minutes, and maybe even a couple of correlated with them being on the floor at the same time. Especially, I think that could be an increased option in this one with Duren and Stewart on the floor. Not saying that's a lock by any means, but regardless, we know Joe Val can be an extremely efficient player when he's on the floor. He could go over this number if he gets 10 minutes. I'm projecting him for 17 minutes here in this spot, 16.5 to be exact. And in that time, him for 9.9 points and 5.7 rebounds. So again, I do think that the potential opponent matchups here are going to get Joe Val a couple extra minutes. If you run this game out 1,000 times, but regardless, if he plays 14 plus minutes, I would still feel pretty decent about this over in this spot at 12.5 points and rebounds.
The last time these two teams played, the poor Nuggets didn't have a center.
Yeah.
So it's just like a disaster for them facing off against this team. Nuggets will be very motivated here, but yeah, I like this play on Val. I don't know what to, Nuggets in kind of a letdown spot coming off of the Thunder game, but at the same time, I think this is probably a good kind of opportunity to get in on Val at that number, especially. Got a little same game parlay if you want to put it together for Kyle Murray's plays, which is always fun. All right, Fiddle, hit your 2 and your 1 stars, please.
So I agree with a lot of the prop directions from Kyle here, and we'll be playing it in the mains on Denver plus 4.5 and Denver on the money line in this spot. I would think that Jokic could maybe play 30 minutes in this game, played 29 last game, up from 25 in his first game back. So I think this is a spot where Jokic could play. And this one, I want to bring in some of the flaws within market ratings, which market ratings are just a math formula to calculate closing lines around the NBA and use the transitive property in math or the chain law in math to then be able to mix and match and price different games based on whichever matchup you want to predict. So if we put it together, we have to go back to last game and say, even with the Nuggets healthy and Jokic playing, the Thunder got heavily steamed in the market for that game. And they got bet out from like -4 to minus like 6.5, 7. There were even 8.5s at some point in the market cycle. So even though Jokic has come back, the market rating on the Denver Nuggets actually has decreased in the last few days because of the steam against with the Thunder. And so I think a lot of that is like matchup based stuff or minutes restriction stuff. So it's kind of the flaw in the system is like, it doesn't totally account for injury updates and minutes limits and matchup stuff. So when you cross it to the Pistons right now, you're going to look at it and it's going to tell you like, oh, the Pistons should be like 7.5 point favorites. Well, we haven't still gotten the full value of Jokic back in the market. So this line opened at 6.5. It was a really early play for me. I think it could go as low as 3.5. So 4.5, still an absolute play for me. Play the money line as well. We'll invoke some Matt Mitchell rule here. Just split your bet up I think this is a strong Denver Nuggets spot in this game. I think the matchup lends towards Denver a lot here.
Okay. I'm with you on this as well. I just think they're going to be motivated. I do make this under the number. In part, like the Pistons are that team that it's tough. They're outperforming their Pythagorean expectation. And so there's a lot of like, hey, the Pistons probably aren't as good as they look. That I haven't done a study, right? I haven't done 15 years of how are you at All-Star break in Pythagorean versus how did you finish. I haven't done that analysis to see what the regression actually happens like. I can tell you it happens more in season than cross season. There's this expectation of like, oh, you overperformed last season, so you're going to go back. And that's not actually what happens. If you overperform last season, you're more likely to go over your win total the following season, which I think is always really interesting. But in season, the anecdotal evidence I have is you do regress back a little bit. So that makes me a little bit more confident in my Pistons number, which is why I'm going to also be on Nuggets plus 4.5 here with Fiddle. Boston, Dallas under 222.5 is the other one. Fiddle, did you give the cap on that? Sorry, I was putting something together.
No, that handicap is pretty simple. I like playing Mavericks unders when Cooper Flag is playing point guard. Don't say anything to Jason Kidd. He might come at you pretty harsh here. But they just play a much. It's not even an anti-flag at point guard. I actually love the experiment and what they're doing. But it's just how much length that they then have defensively, and the game slows down a little bit. So going against a Boston team, I think that length defensively should be able to help the closeouts on the threes and defend the 3-point line a little bit better. I expect both teams to be low pace. I expect low free throws both ways in this game because Boston historically one of the lower free throw teams. Jaylen Brown apparently dealing with like some sort of hamstring thing, but he's okay. Maybe that was just a flub on the injury report to get him to rest a game. But this is really a spot that I think drops, another 2 points in the total and is a clear under spot. So Boston Celtics, Dallas Mavericks under 222.5. There's a 223.5, which is the line I played at our beloved DraftKings.
I was like begging for my model to spit out an under on this game, and it was like, nope, it's about right. I was like, damn it. I was very disappointed when that happened. By the way, I just want to note this. This is over at Kalshi. This is James Harden's odds to be traded in the before the deadline over the last hour. So you'll notice that we came on sometime around 9 p.m. Mountain Time, and they start seeing the blip, 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 blip. So that's fun to kind of see the growing expectations of how this has gone in the market. It's currently 73 cents for him to be traded this season to another team. My 2-star, my 1-star plays on the night. I'm going to go with the Celtics minus 7.5 here. I make this about 11. The Mavericks have been annoying in hanging with good teams, so I tend to look at opportunities to get them. I just can't get at this number. Also, they were a lot better at doing that when they had Anthony Davis. They've started to kind of slack off. Now that's more just flag, kind of putting up numbers and highlight plays. They aren't covering as well versus the good teams. And so I'm more apt to go ahead and go in on Celtics minus 7.5 here for my 2-star. And then my 1-star goes back to that Pistons Nuggets game. Is if we don't have enough on that game, we could build like a 7-leg parlay with all of our bets. Javonte Green 3+3s. You can the actual bet here is just like whatever his number pops at for the over on his threes. And when I look, they weren't up yet. You can tell me if I'm wrong on that, Kyle, if that has updated, if there's a number out in the market yet. I don't expect it to be until tomorrow. The Nuggets' entire problem is that their zone coverage, their pick and roll man coverage, all of their coverage surrenders corner threes. I talked about this all the time. Javonte gets a lot of those shots. He went over this in the last game. We cashed on that. I'm going back to the well here. Javonte Green over on his 3-pointers, and you can play it up on the escalator ladder to 3+3s. I just said escalator ladder as if that's a thing, but let's pretend that it is. So to recap, before we do King of the Court, we're going to do Cade Cunningham under 35.5 PA for Kyle Murray, Tobias Harris over 18.5 PRA, Jonas Valanciunas over 12.5 PR. So if you just want to bet Kyle's bets, tail him, and then just watch Nuggets Pistons tomorrow night, you can have a pretty good night. Make some popcorn. Michael Fiddle, Wizards Knicks over 226.5, Nuggets plus 4.5, and Boston Dallas under 222.5. I'm on Lakers Nets over 222.5. If Austin Reeves, not Austin Rivers, plays, Boston Celtics -7.5, and Javonte Green all over on his 3-pointers made. So a little bit about King of the Court over at DraftKings. As a reminder, all you got to do when you log into DraftKings is click on opt-in. It's going to give you a bonus bet. You can play any prop for $5, and if that player has the most points, rebounds, and assists on the night, you get a share of the bonus bets. So tonight, as we always do, we're going to break it down by into 3. King of Chalk's going to be Luka. It's close with Nikola Jokic, but Jokic is on a minutes restriction, and Luka's not. Murray, if Reeves plays, not Rivers, if Reeves plays, how does that change Luka's projection for you?
Honestly, he would take a slight dip, but I don't think it would be anything super crazy. I mean, when Luka's on the floor, he dominates so much of the usage and the touches. And it's actually Reeves who mainly his assist rate just plummets playing alongside Luka. So that's obviously the big hit. So Luka pretty much just stays putting up Luka type, underlying numbers. He would take probably a slight dip if Reeves plays, but regardless, I think he'd be, pretty clear cut the King of Chalk here.
Okay. Our king of value is going to be Nikola Jokic because, well, it's Nikola Jokic when he's not the highest guy on the board. So you might be able to get, good return on the guy who obviously puts in insane numbers every single night. I can't believe he came back versus the Clippers in his first game back after a month off. He had 31 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists in 25 minutes. Every time I'm like, I will not be surprised by what Nikola Jokic will do tonight. And then he does it. And I'm like, well, shit. And your king of fun. How about Cooper Flag, man? What if he just keeps going off? Like he just keeps doing stuff. Would kill the under. Would probably kill Celtics -7.5. But if Flag just goes in and drops a huge number, or if he does, maybe the Celtics just bomb a lot of threes and we all win. But Cooper Flag is your king of fun there for our pyramid of kingly greatness at the Action Network. King of Chalk is Luka. King of Value is Jokic. King of Fun is Cooper Flag. It's going to do it for Buckets. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll be back with you tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to tune in for whatever's going on in the trade market. They'll react to that, react to the games, and get you best bets for the Wednesday slate. Make sure to follow Michael Fiddle on Twitter at Fiddle's Picks. You can get his show every single day. Turn on notifications for Fiddle. You will be better if you catch all of Fiddle's analysis. You can catch Kyle Murray on Twitter and in the Action Network app at KMurDFS. Make sure to check out his work at Roto Grinders. He does such a great job breaking down these things. So much work on the projections. But thanks to David Payne, our producer. We'll be back again tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, let's get buckets. James Harden.